Hi there. Welcome to our Spiritual Toolkit playlist about simple living and introduction. I have a passion for simplicity. I'm energized and excited by the thought of organizing and simplifying things. But you might wonder, how is that spiritual? A friend recently said to me, cleaning out makes room for spiritual newness. I really like that, spiritual newness, because for me, simplicity has always been about making room for what's important. And in order to do that, we need to let go. We make room for what is important in life as a rule, I find. Whether it's on our calendar, in our wallets, or in our homes, we make room for things that are important to us. and it's the letting go part that is more challenging. But in making space for what's important to us, we're creating harmony and balance and making room for joy, lots of joy. Imagine for a minute, close your eyes for a minute and imagine if everything in your clothes closet brought a smile to your face. Imagine everything in there bringing you joy. And imagine when it doesn't and how that feels. Generally, less is more, I find. And that applies in all areas of life. And in simplifying, I propose there might be like 4 areas. One is self-care, food, fitness, and frivolity, relationships, work, finance, and schedules seem all connected, and then home. And for today, I just want to talk about home. Simplifying in the home. Physical clutter that we all know all about can be very overwhelming for us. But we are a culture of excess. More, more, more. That is what our culture dictates to us, right? The annual industry revenue, just to shed some light on the stuff we have, the annual industry revenue of self-storage units is $39 billion in 2019. $39 billion. The number of storage facilities are estimated to be 45 to 60,000 storage facilities, not units, but facilities. The total rentable self-storage space is 1.7 billion square feet. And the percentage of households that rent a self-storage unit is close to 10%. 10% of the households in the U.S. have a storage unit. And sometimes we need one. And sometimes it's filled with stuff that we have no idea what's in there, right? So where does all our stuff come from? Well, first, when trying to learn to let go, it's important to start small, really tiny, so it doesn't get so big and overwhelming that you don't want to do any of it. So start small, one space, one drawer, a closet, a shelf, your shoe collection. Start small, empty it, and after giving thanks for each item, decide if it'll go back or into your donate box or trash box. The question is, the ultimate criteria is, do you love it or need it? And if the answer is no, then let it go. And it's amazing how clearly defined things are when you ask that question. I've been asking it for years. Do I love it or do I need it? And if not, why do I have it? That's my question, right? So where does our stuff come from? Things accumulate, right? I swear they multiply on their own, but who knows? But stuff accumulates. Sometimes we bring something in, and I invite the practice of when you bring something in, you let go of something old. That way you don't deal with that mystery multiplying of stuff. I try to use that practice, but when I forget, things accumulate. Another way that we gather stuff is gifts. People give us gifts. You know the ones. And giving ourselves permission to re-gift is a great idea. And also when we are buying gifts for others, to consider buying consumable gifts, foods or experiences, movie tickets or restaurant gift certificates, things that they can really enjoy and think of you while they're enjoying it, but it's not going to sit on a closet shelf for 5 years. Another thing that we accumulate is heirlooms, right? Someone else's treasure becomes ours because you're the keeper in the family and somebody's got to keep these things, right? I can't tell you how many times I've heard stories about people who have all these heirlooms that they don't want. They don't want it, they don't need it, but they don't know what to do with it. And that's a really tough thing, because in letting go of them, we don't lose the memories. Take a picture of it and let it go. Let someone else enjoy it and love it and bring it into their home, where they might look at it and it might make their heart sing. Wouldn't that be a great use of an heirloom? Then we have personal mementos, the photos, cards, children's artwork, things like that. They can be scanned. You can make them into a piece of art. You could create a collage and frame it. Then you'll have that one thing instead of 5 boxes of it. You know, there's all sorts of possibilities to be creative with things that we treasure without having them fill our spaces. Sometimes things are on sale and we want to stock up even if we don't use those products. And sometimes we buy things because we have a coupon. Yeah, that's a good one. So just be mindful why you do what you do. And when we start thinking of things that way, the way we shop, that can really make a big difference in what we find accumulating in our home, in our spaces. We have sometimes the thought that we might need something, so we don't want to let go of it. We might need it, so we bring it home, and then we find we already had 3 of those. And that's a practice that some folks have and get into, and because they want to be sure they don't run out. And then it's a good idea to kind of look at the mindset that created that, right? Another is when we are coming from a place of a mindset of lack or insufficiency or not having enough. My mom grew up in the Depression, and she is comforted to be surrounded by her stuff, and she never wants to run out of anything, so she always has an extra, at least, to make sure she doesn't run out, and that's what makes her feel good and safe and comforted, and that's okay. But it's helpful to understand why we do what we do, why we think the way we do. And that information can be useful in changing it if we want to, or just understanding it if we don't. And the last point is for how things come into our house that occurred to me is when our partner is not a minimalist and we are, and they like their stuff and we don't. And that's a whole other thing that I will talk about at another time. But that is another way that we are challenged with our stuff. So, I had a few thoughts for your reflection. You might want to think about these things as you explore simplicity in your life. Identify your comfort zone. Are you a minimalist? To be defined by what that means for you personally? Or are you someone who is comforted by your stuff? Decide where to begin. Start small, make tiny changes, and they will have big impact. And you might be so excited and energized by that one change that you might want to move on to others. Clean out and organize one little space and notice how it makes you feel. And then journal about it and see what comes up. You might be surprised by the discovery. And how have you made space for spiritual newness in this process. Thank you for joining me today. God bless you, and namaste.